that teachers should not make more money. We all want that. And that is why, since 2008, I'm going to come back to this, because I'm going to be asking what is the total percent increase during those years. And I have to say, for those teachers who, when Mr. Hodge said 86% may equal to or more than they would have made, that is the truth. I understand if somebody is one of those 14% that was 1 year away or 2 years away from those two big steps, that may be a heartbreaking moment. But either there is rule of democracy, and either there is a respect for what's negotiated towards the greater good, and that's respected, or let's throw out negotiation, let's throw out a vote where 2/3 basically the people say that's what we want, and let the minority voice superimpose itself over the majority. I understand the pain, and I continue to work with staff to actually look at ways, and I announced it when we brought this item to the board, that next year there's an opportunity of attempting to continue to mitigate, because the individuals that were waiting on one of those two big steps, they didn't get the full step, but they got significantly more than the percentage increase for the other employees, recognizing that there was a transition. And we committed ourselves to continue to work to mitigate that impact over the next couple of years. But I think we're forgetting one thing here. Does anybody care really that under the old step schedule, you could start teaching, you could go 10, 12, 13 years, and that's what a lot of folks say, making percent increases that were insulting. That's what we fixed here. But you cannot fix both. You cannot fix those insulting step increases in the hopes that what was negotiated, and this is the truth, over 40 years ago, to benefit a little group of people, a contract negotiated by somebody who ended up in jail, to benefit a small group of teachers. That is the genesis of those two steps. Why do you think there was that disproportionate value associated with those two steps? Because somebody lacking ethics and morals 40 years ago decided that there were some friends that they wanted to help. And that is the God's honest truth. And this board that's here knows that. And nobody has wanted to change it because it was too difficult. And for 40 years, it stayed the same. And to me personally, it is really interesting. When you try to fix it, and you say what's right is right, shouldn't teachers have an accelerated way of earning more faster? And this schedule does that. Yes, nobody will deny that. Nobody will deny the fact that the individuals who were so close or expecting one of those two big steps, yes, there is an impact. There is no way of fixing it without fixing it. The question is, was it fair? And for those of you who perhaps just started monitoring the conversations at the board, reverse this. And I've sat here many years where 2 to 3 times the number of speakers came to speak. And you know what they said? I've been working 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Why is somebody getting a $7,000 or a $10,000 increase on that step and I'm getting $200? How is that possible? You're going to lose me. And the truth of the matter is, 75% of the teachers we lose them within the first 5 years because they did not see any increase. So the goal of this board, universally agreed to a number of years ago, was to bring about fairness in the steps. And by fairness, it is not make it fair for some, but keep those who are expecting those larger steps intact, because you cannot do both. So this was done with good intention. It was done with good intention. And it was voted with good intention. It was negotiated with good intention. Out of frustration from an elected board and staff and teachers that for many years endured near poverty percent increases, as they were waiting for one of those magical steps. And then you and I know, when bad times hit, that step was never a guarantee. I'll tell you the truth, when I was a teacher, were bad times. I never got a salary increase. I never got any step. All 4 years. I went through 4 years, 0 step increase. So the step was never a guarantee. So how unfair and unjust would it be for those teachers who put in 4, 5, 6, 10 years to get to that one, what was the first magical step? Step 12? 13. So you starve yourself until that point. And if an economic recession hits, you may have to wait now 2 to 3 years. So this was done out of fairness and to accelerate total compensation. And mathematically speaking, anybody who is in this schedule will accelerate faster. Even some of the teachers that were waiting on that step, if you're guaranteed 2 or 3 or 4%, whatever it is, moving forward, you catch up and surpass what you would have made in that one big step. So we can be somewhat myopic in terms of a short-term gain, or visionary and fair over the long haul. And that's exactly what was negotiated. We've explained this a number of times, and I decided to take the time to explain it again. That's why this board approved this. That's why this was negotiated. It was actually less to do with compliance with the state statute. The state statute would have driven us to do this anyway, but we tried to do it in a fair, honest, impartial way that would benefit everybody. The thought that anybody would sit here and try to do something that would hurt anybody is beyond me. Really beyond me. And for anybody to say that, yes, if the state changes laws, that's something we need to adapt to. We weren't happy. This board complained about it. But at the same time, recognize that over the past 8 years, as healthcare costs have escalated, skyrocketed across the country and here in our community, that has not been passed on to the employees. And yes, there's always in a crowd one person says, I'm paying more. Yes, you may be paying more if you're one of 3 people. One, you added a dependent, got married, put your husband on it. But because if you are a single employee, it costs 0. Second, you can pay a little bit more if rather than the local plus, you want the Cadillac model. Like in any company, you can have the general. If you want more, there is a cost. Third, and Ms. Marte explained this, if you got a promotion or if your salary moves up and based on what was negotiated years ago, which I thought was fair, meaning the lowest paid employees would make the least contribution in terms of dependent health care. The ones who earn the most would make a greater contribution. So if you move up in salary to a new band, you may pay a little bit more. But the increase, in that case, I think the most would be $10. But that's hardly any employees in the system. So we can hear a lot. But when this board votes to suppress by making a $12, $20, $30 million investment in healthcare over years, to not pass on a single dollar of cost to the employees, I think it's quite unfair for somebody to come and say that healthcare costs have gone up. Not because of this board. Not because of this board. So there are a lot of truths being spoken. There's a lot of emotion, but there's also a rationale as to why this was done. Okay? Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I would like to remind the board that the 90 minutes of the public hearing will be up at 5:50, I was told. So I would like a vote to extend the public hearing. Second.